I feel like the intro to the video should be in like black and white, just like one of those true crime stories. And it's like slow-mo of Ryan. Where did she go wrong?
Enter Detective Sohla.
Dun dun dun.
Hi everyone, my name is Brian. I'm a food writer and journalist, and right now I'm working on a piece with Food 52 on olive oil. And I really wanted to find a recipe that best highlighted the great things about olive oil. So I called up a friend, you may know her, Sohla, to help develop a recipe that would best highlight the qualities of olive oil. And I made this recipe last night. I, full disclosure, fumbled a few bags and texted her to help me out. So I'm really excited to be able to have an opportunity to walk through it with her and share it with you all.
Hey, hi.
Hi, how's it going?
Good, how are you?
I'm good. How did you come up with Blondies?
There's a lot of olive oil cakes. We all know and love the olive oil cake. And I think that is a great vehicle for olive oil, but I wanted something that also highlighted the texture of the olive oil. So when you cook with olive oil, it's a little bit more like dense than butter, so you get more chew. So I wanted something that needs that chew. So the Blondie seemed like a really good fit. The Blondie also has some caramel, which I feel like really brings out the vegetal, grassy notes in the olive oil, and then we get a lot of good chew. So it just seems like a perfect place for olive oil.
As a home cook, someone who's not as experienced as you, and I went through your recipe and I had a little hiccups along the way. The one that I have, I know does not look as beautiful as yours, so I want to be able to do this recipe some justice.
Yeah, we'll troubleshoot. We're gonna go through all of the places that might be a little bit tricky for a beginner, and we're gonna make it so that anyone can make this. After you watch this, anyone can make this. Okay, so do you feel ready to do it?
I feel ready to do it.
Okay, so we're gonna start by making the caramel, the olive oil caramel that's gonna run through the Blondies. So we need to make our caramel. You've got 6 tablespoons of sugar, and you wanna use one place where you can mess up your caramel before you even start is if your pot is too big. So you want to go for a small pot with, what is your pot? That's perfect. If you're using like a really wide pan, it just gives you more places for crystallization to happen. So you want to go high and tight.
Okay.
All right, so then let's add our sugar to the pot.
Okay.
Now let's add a couple tablespoons of water. You don't have to be too precise with the water. It's just to help it dissolve.
We're doing New York City tap water.
Yeah, that's my favorite kind. That's what I live off of. So the water is just going to help us get it going. You actually don't need water to make caramel. You can just cook your sugar dry, but it makes it a little bit easier. So now turn on your stove to medium heat.
Don't stir it yet?
Not yet, yeah. Okay, and now we want to stir the sugar with a fork just until it's like mostly dissolved. The reason you use a fork instead of like a spatula or a whisk is then you can have tight little circles. And it's just to get rid of those clumps, get everything nice and moist and like 90% of the way melted. When you're like 90% of the way melted, stop stirring and just stand by.
Okay, I think I'm good.
Okay, yeah, I think I'm good too. And then you just let it do its thing.
Okay.
You just hang tight. You might need to move your pot over. Like sometimes one corner is getting darker than the other one, and then you'll need to move your pot over, but just stay close by, keep an eye on it, and we're just gonna watch it brown. That's it.
Did you cover yours?
Oh yeah.
That was my debate last night. I was like, okay, so I mix it, and then I cover it, and then I uncover it for 2 seconds, and then I mix it some more.
So the covering is just another bit of insurance against crystallization. So
Okay.
when you cover it, the solution is going to steam, and the steam's going to condense on the lid and slide down the sides of the pan and like wash off any crystals that have built up. You can also do it without covering, but it just helps you get to sugar. It just helps it cook a little bit more evenly. Yeah.
Okay.
But we'll just let it get going. Once it's like really vigorous, we can remove the cover so we can see the browning happen.
We got a lot of bubbles.
Just let it do its thing. Don't agitate the pot because that can make it crystallize. Don't get in there and stir too much. If everything is dissolved, it can kind of like take care of itself.
Okay. so worried about it.
Like right now I have fully dissolved sugar. The solution is really actively bubbling. This is exactly what you want to see. We're going to let it do its thing and it's eventually going to start to brown and turn into caramel. If at this point you're seeing some white sugar crystallization happening like around the edges, it's not over. So if anything like last night happens to you again where the whole thing crystallizes, just add a bunch of water. You can fully dissolve it and let it cook down again. Sugar is always gonna come back for you.
Oh, it's brown now.
You're browning? Okay, cool, awesome.
It's brown on the outside. It looks like, and the brown is like, yep, it's all brown now.
Okay, if it's brown, then turn off the heat and add the cream. Carefully, like make sure your hand, it's gonna steam a lot once you add the cream, so make sure your hand's out of the way so you don't like burn yourself.
Whoa, science.
Cool, and then add the olive oil and salt. You can just stir it until it's mostly combined. You might have a little greasy slick of olive oil on top and that's fine. And then just pour it into another heat-proof bowl. I like to take it real dark. I've turned off my heat and now I'm gonna add my cream. So now that the cream is in there, I'm gonna stir in my olive oil and salt. That's it. You can make caramel now, Ryan.
I did it, but I want you to see my color because I need you to confirm.
You did it. It's caramel. Now we're going to make our Blondie base, which is very, very easy. You just need a bowl. No mixing, no mixer, no equipment needed. Okay, so into the bowl, we're gonna add our olive oil, brown sugar, baking powder, salt, and a couple of eggs. And we're gonna whisk it up. I'm using a scale, so it's gonna be 180 grams. And the main thing with this though is like, you gotta make sure you splurge on the good olive oil because there's a lot of olive oil in this. You're gonna really taste it and it's kind of the determining factor of whether or not this is gonna taste good. So this is not the place to skimp. Get the best stuff you can find. What's wrong?
So when I did this last night, when I was mixing the sugar and the olive oil, it was mixing much easier.
A lot of times with baking, I don't mise it out earlier because like the brown sugar can get really clumpy.
Yeah.
Baking powder can get kind of clumpy. But just keep mixing, we're gonna get there. I think once you put the eggs in there, the moisture from the eggs will help you declump.
You know, we might just have some like brown sugar clumps in here, but I think this is as good as it's gonna get right now.
So next, let's line our pans. You got a brownie pan?
I have a pan, but it's not the same size pan that this recipe calls for because...
Oh, that's fine. It's gonna be a little bit thicker, but it'll still be good. And it'll still bake in about the same time. So we're gonna line it with parchment. You got some parchment? You wanna cut your parchment so it fits in like this. So it covers the bottom and I have a little bit of handle here. I need to cut mine to make it a little smaller. You wanna, if it's a little bit smaller, that's okay, but if it's too big, it kind of puckers around the edges and you won't have like clean sides. And sometimes the batter can like end up underneath the parchment and then makes it hard to take it out. You wanna grease up the pan a little bit with a little bit of olive oil and it just helps the parchment stick to the pan so that the batter doesn't sneak underneath it. A little bit of oil, rub it up. I just use my hands, but you could use a paper towel.
Yeah.
And now I'm pressing the paper into the pan. Make sure that there's a good seal at the corners so the batter doesn't slide underneath. And then, you know, smooth it out. Does yours look like that? So we got the bottom and two sides. So now the Blondie batter has had some time to rest so the sugars could dissolve. Now we can finish it up with flour and our mix-in. So in the recipe I said nuts, but today I felt like doing some chocolate chips, but you can really do whatever you want. You could do some dried fruit or you can even add, I tried it with oil-cured olives, which is delicious, but like oil-cured olives are a little hard to find. So I'm gonna add 1.5 cups of all-purpose flour to this, or 187 grams. And this recipe I also tested out with a gluten-free all-purpose flour blend, and it works really well, so you can easily swap 1-for-1 with gluten-free flour if that's what you want to do.
How many chocolate chips are you gonna put in?
I'm gonna do 2/3 of a cup, the same as the nuts, but you can put more in there. You can put more, you can put less. You can do nuts and chocolate. So is your flour all incorporated?
It's getting mixed in there right now.
Okay, cool. And once it's all incorporated, go ahead and add your mix in. So my chips are going in, and I'm just gonna fold that up. You could totally just eyeball it or just put as much as you want.
Okay.
Do you wanna see mine?
Yes.
Did you put both eggs in there? Yeah, okay. Did we forget something maybe?
I might have, lots of things have happened that you haven't seen.
Well, you know what? I think it'll still be fine. Okay, so now let's get, you wanna put about 2/3 of the batter into the pan.
Okay. My batter doesn't just like slide out, Sohla. It's so thick.
That is weird. I feel like something's forgotten.
It looks like cookie dough.
It does look like cookie dough. So normally with baking, you can't go back, but the Blondies are super forgiving because they're so high in sugar and fat that we might be fine. Let's add 3 tablespoons of olive oil.
Okay.
See how it looks, and maybe add a couple tablespoons of sugar.
Okay. It's certainly softer, but it's still...
Whoa. Whoa, it's still cookie dough. Oh man. You know, let's do 3 more tablespoons of olive oil, a 1/4 cup of brown sugar, and then let's just go for it. I know there's a swap, but we must see what happens to this. We must. How's it mixing?
It's mixing.
Okay. I guess we should probably just continue because the gluten is starting to build up now a lot. Like I know I said you can't overmix it, but we might be heading to the point of overmixing. All right, so now add, just like eyeball, about 2/3 of the batter into the pan, and then spread it out as evenly as you can. If you've got an offset spatula, that's the best tool. But if you don't have one, you can also use the back of a spoon.
I wish my batter was a little bit, like, would move a little bit more, but it's all good.
It's cool. It's gonna be something. Something's gonna happen.
Something like this.
Okay, so the reason why I'm splitting up the batter like this, the main reason for it is I want the caramel to not hit the bottom of the pan. Because if it sinks into the bottom of the pan, it gets like a little bit too chewy when you bake it, instead of staying nice and soft.
Yeah.
So by doing this like little layering thing, we can make sure the caramel stays nice and soft. But what I like to do is take a little dollop with my spoon.
Okay.
And then since it has that olive oil, it won't stick to the spoon or your hand that much, and I kind of smush it into something flat and then put that flat bit of caramel on my Blondie.
Okay.
Just so I don't have like a thick amount of caramel, so it's like more even. I don't want you to take a big dollop like this and just plop it in there.
Yeah.
Because then it'll sink to the bottom. So we just want to make sure the dollops are like more delicate. Let's show each other. Okay, you go first. Yeah, that looks good. That looks good. Okay, so now we're ready for the rest of the batter.
Yeah.
And then same deal. You just want to evenly distribute it in little clumps to just try and cover some of it. You know, I do this thing where I'll take a little bit of it and kind of, you know, drag it across the top so it's kind of covers up the caramel. I just like to cover up the caramel so it's a surprise. You're just kind of getting little dollops everywhere so it's like mostly covered. That's good, yeah. Yeah. And then you want to use your offset spatula or the back of a spoon to just kind of gently even it out. Don't like smush too much because you don't want to push the caramel to the bottom.
Okay.
And then I just use the tip to kind of make little swirls just on the top layer, kind of cutting through so that the olive oil from the caramel will kind of come through and it looks like it's nice and cracked after it bakes. And then we're gonna just finish it with a little flaky salt. Just evenly all over. The salt really helps bring out the flavors in the olive oil and like balance all that sweetness from the brown sugar and the caramel.
Like that kind of?
Yeah. See, this is mine.
Yay!
You did it. Okay, and now we bake. So we're gonna bake this at 350 degrees, right in the middle of the oven, for about 35 minutes. It's just gonna feel like nice and dry and set. the toothpick test doesn't really work because the inside is supposed to be moist. So just once it feels like it's set, things aren't squishing around, you're good to go. So, shall we?
Yes, we shall.
Okay, so once you bake the blondies, you want to let them cool completely before you take it out of the pan and cut them up. But if you really want really nice clean cuts on the blondie and you want to make them extra chewy, after it's cooled, I like to pop it out of the pan and put it right in the freezer. So I froze this overnight so it's like rock solid, and it kind of makes the interior denser, chewier, and it's going to make it easy to get nice clean cuts because it is like kind of squishy.
Yeah.
If it's at room temperature, it's harder to get nice clean cuts. Let's get in there and cut this guy. You can cut it up however you want. I'm gonna go for just like a bar. Yeah, so you can see since it's frozen, I'm getting, even though it's like soft and chewy, I'm getting really clean cuts. And the caramel's right in the middle. Yeah, it's a blondie.
But the caramel's in the middle.
Yeah, it's a caramel surprise. They last a really long time, and I feel like they get better as they sit. So this is a good one to just like have in a container for emergency snacking, you know? Oh gosh, okay. This is my blondie Jenga. Please don't fall over. There we go. We did it. Blondies with olive oil.
Are we gonna try them?
Yeah, yeah. Okay, we're going in.
Yeah, it's good.
The olive oil really hits you. It's very rich.
I like it with the pistachios. The chocolate chips are gonna be good, but since there's a lot, it's a pretty sweet treat anyways. I like the savoriness of the nuts.
You can taste so much olive oil. I feel like it's more olive oily than an olive oil cake. We did it.
We did it!
There were a few hurdles, but we got there.
A lot of hurdles. Thank you so much. Thank you, Sohla. This was so fun.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Sohla. Bye. Thanks so much for watching. If you want to read more about olive oil, click the link to my article below. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to this channel. Thanks so much, everyone, and we'll see you next time. Yeah, it has that cool, icy, glassy top look that Sohla is talking about. So that's a good sign. So this one is the one we did today, and then this is the one from last night. I know we had a lot of hiccups along the road, but the consistency tastes much better.